and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Haley and you're watching Between the Pages. I have a book review for you today, and that is Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. This is a full-length novel set in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. It is recommended that you read this one before Fallen and Kiss of Dusk, so I think that would technically make it like 3.5. I think, or 2.5. I can't remember. I'd have to check the Goodreads, but you do need to read this one. Well, you don't need to, but it's highly encouraged by the author and everybody else on the internet that you read this one before you read Fallen and Kiss of Dusk. I have not read Fallen and Kiss of Dusk, so I have done my homework. So I know who these characters are because they're supposed to pop up in the 4th Crowns of Nyaxia book. But yeah, now we're going to talk about it. So I'll probably have to show you the art in this to explain before I go on. So she has a blindfold around her eyes because the she's part of a group of priestesses, and they give up their eyesight as like a sacrifice to their god, and he gives her, or she, can't remember if it's a he or a she, gives her gives them the power to basically see again, but without their eyes. And they can see like threads, and it leads them to people, to things. So they're not completely blind. And I was like, oh, okay, because that could have been really interesting if she had been completely blind and had to rely on like, you know, touch, smell, hearing. But yeah, she's not really blind. So I was like, oh, kind of took my excitement out a little bit. So Atreus, the main character of, well, the main love interest of this book, he has horns. So we've never seen a vampire with horns before, to my knowledge. It has been a couple years since I have read the Crowns of Nyaxia series, at least like the first two. So Serpent in the Wings of Night and Ashes in the Star-Cursed King, but to my knowledge, there has never been a vampire with horns. So I was like, okay. So obviously those are due to a curse of some sort. I was right. Just gonna throw that out there. I was right. So I was like, okay, well that explains why he has horns, because we've never seen a vampire with horns before. He does have a curse of some kind, and the horns are a consequence of that, plus something else that's like stifling his magic and stuff like that. So they mention that there is a priestess or like a servant of the light, and I was like, oh, the light, like Atraxis, like Misha. It's not actually Misha, obviously, but I was like, oh, I like how in this book and in Six Scorched Roses, she does bring up things like from, you know, the other books to like kind of give you that, like that bridge, because this doesn't take place in Orbitre, I think, which is the country where Misha and Rayan and Aurea currently are. This takes place in Galate, I think. Again, I've not listened to any of the audiobooks, so I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. So, excuse me. And then I love the banter between Silena, again, I don't know how to pronounce their names, and Atreus. We're gonna go with Atreus because I think, isn't that the name of the little boy from Neverending Story? We're gonna go with it. I'm gonna call him that because I don't know how to pronounce his name. I love the banter between them. It is so great. I will say the one thing that Carissa Broadbent excels at is banter between her characters. I love her characters, and I love how she writes them together. She is just such a great author, at least in my eyes. I love her. You do also find out that Atreus was kind of sort of involved in the way that the House of Blood got cursed. So that's Septimus, who is the main character of the next duet. It's called the Bloodborne duet, and it's about Septimus and I think a human. I think it's another vampire human romance. Just based off what I've seen on Carissa Broadbent's social media. But yeah, I was like, oh, so he is involved in how the House of Blood got cursed. So maybe that's why he pops up in the next book and like the next series, trying to help them break their curse on the House of Blood so they don't turn into crazy monsters anymore. And then I don't remember why I made this note, but it says, this book is thankfully helping me to understand the world of the Crowns of Nyaxia. It is, and I guess I probably put that because it is a very, very confusing world and very confusing backstory, and the gods, you kind of like get drip fed bits of lore through each book. And like, I'm not saying that I want an information dump, but sometimes it would be helpful. It is a very confusing world, so it's very hard to explain, but I feel like you understand if you've read it, but this one definitely helped me understand a lot more of the world and the politics and everything like that. And then at some point she's given a dagger that she is supposed to use to kill Atreus. And I was like, I bet she's going to use it to kill the Pythora king, which is like this king that Atreus is trying to like overthrow, because the whole thing about like Atreus wanting to conquer Galate, however you pronounce it, is he wants to be like a benevolent ruler. Like he basically is like Dany from Game of Thrones, how she goes in and frees all the slaves and is like, there will be no more slave owners, and she wants, you know, break the wheel and everything, or yeah, break the wheel. And so he's basically like that. Like he wants to go in and like free these people. So like you think he's there to like conquer in like bad faith, like a bad conqueror, but it's like, no, he actually wants to free these cities from this tyrannical king and basically being like a benevolent ruler over them and being like, I'm gonna let you step back and like do your thing. I don't want to rule you. I don't want to tell you what to do. Like, I just want to free you from, you know, this tyrannical king and the torment and the suffering and stuff. So Atreus is actually a pretty good guy. So I really like him. He's definitely one of those where he's like really tough on the outside, but like really soft at heart for his love interest. And like, he really does want the best for everybody. So I love him for that. And then when I was moving into the last 100 pages, so Carissa Broadbent is a lot like Sarah J. Maas in this aspect that like the last 100 pages are usually like crazy tons of twists and turns and plot twists and stuff. So like the last 100 pages of a Carissa Broadbent book, like, you know, like some shit's about to go down. So like this whole entire time she's been lying to Atreus, saying that she needs protection from the Nyaxia. Again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That is the group of priestesses that she's a part of. And she basically tells him like, I left, I deserted, like they're gonna come after me, they're gonna kill me. And like at one point I was like, okay, well, you're actually like betraying them at this point, so you're actually gonna need protection. So it's kind of like she starts out lying and then it turns out to not actually be a lie. So it's one of those situations. And then I put, give them a fucking break, Carissa, geez. And I think it's because there's always a point where you are so certain that the main characters, like the hero and the heroine, have like, they've lost. They're done for. Like she puts her characters through so much shit. And I was like, why do you insist on torturing your characters? Like at this point, I want to take them away from her and being like, you can't play with them anymore. Like you need to be nice with them or you can't have them back. So I'm to that point with Carissa Broadbent. I'm like, please stop torturing your characters. Just like when she nailed Ryan's wings to the outside of the castle. And I was like, why? or let's just, okay, Sarah J. Maas, when she has Cassian's wings be completely destroyed at the end of Akamath. And I'm like, why? Why? Like, I understand these characters are not real people, but like, I feel their pain. I was just like, you need to be nice. You need to be nice. And then you find out that the Nyaxia were working with the Pythora king, and that's why they wanted Atreus dead. because they didn't actually want him dead because, you know, oh, he's so bad and he's gonna, you know, rule us with an iron fist and kill all the humans and stuff like that. No. Like, they were working with the Pythora king, who's actually been dead this entire time. And, like, the Iraq Chesson are the ones who were, like, basically puppeting him. Kind of, sort of like Grima Wormtongue and, oh, crap, the king from Lord of the Rings and Rohan. He's basically, you know, he's basically puppeting him. That's basically what they're doing with the Pythora king, except he's already dead. And I was like, oh. So, like I said, I was wrong that she didn't use the dagger to kill the Pythora king because he's already dead. She uses it to kill, like, the head priestess of the Iraq Chesson and basically, like, free all of the Iraq Chesson from this tyrannical leader of the priestesses. And then Atreus' cousin is actually Septimus. So, like I said, I understand why he pops up in the next book. And I think maybe the next series or next duet. But I was like, oh. So based on that ending, I do see how this is 2.5, which means it has to go after the Ashes and Starkers King, before Songbird and Heart of Stone. That is not where I'm going to place it on my bookshelf. I'm actually going to place it after Songbird and Heart of Stone. So that would technically make it 3.5 in my eyes, at least. But yeah, it's another one of those things where I don't really understand why Carissa Broadbent places her books where she places them, because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, like, to me, with the chronology and everything. Because Septimus is like, I need you to, like, help me and everything. But yeah, I guess maybe 2.5. Because at the end of the Ashes and Starkers King, like, the whole, like, Septimus is, like, basically a crazed monster. But I don't know. I think for now I'm going to place it before Fallen and Kiss of Dusk on my shelf. But yeah, that was just my little review. Not really little, but you know how I am. I'm a yapper. I have ADHD. And so yeah, I will see you guys later.